Boom! We are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony YouTube channel. And I thank all of you for being here wherever you may be. And of course, however you may be listening. So let's quickly dive into this. I don't have a ton of time. I saw this and I don't know why, but it kind of spurred me to have a reaction to it, and I wanted to dispel any notion that some Iowa fans must be or might have. And it kind of opened my eyes a little bit, like how often people are willing to just kind of go with their own worldview, with their own assumptions, with their own perceptions of things without verification. So On3, I've told you guys in the recently that I will be utilizing On3 as more than likely my primary recruiting source. I think that they are, if they aren't already, they will be the best recruiting source, especially for college football. And if you don't know the game behind the recruiting services and stuff like that, literally one guy has started all of the recruiting services. One guy. I forget what his name is. I know I listened to a podcast. Clay Travis from Outkick Sports interviewed him a few years ago. He has since sold and been bought out, or whatever the case may be, these other recruiting services. But literally, he started Rivals. It was bought or sold. He started 247 Sports, bought and sold, and then On3 is his most recent one. I told you guys that Steve Wiltfong, a national analyst or insider, was signing with On3. And 247 Sports, I think, is still decent. It looks like Rivals is trying to have a revitalization. Ultimately, when it comes to these recruiting services, the number one name of the game is building traffic to their sites, which in turn is able to help them sell ad revenue on their sites. Some subscription fee vis-a-vis the team websites like Hawkeye Insider or Hawkeye Report for On3 and things like that. But the number one name of the game, the thing that separates each recruiting site, is the ability to pump out legitimate evaluations on a yearly basis on all of these countless recruits. Now, however it's done, whether it's done through film or it's done through regional camps or college camps that give access to some of these recruiting services, whatever the case may be, or Elite 11, it's probably, the answer is it's all of the above. They use all of these things to come up with a rating for these recruits. But the number one name of the game is for them to have enough people that can evaluate the film or give a eyeball test in person and provide a rating for as many recruits as they can. So one thing that, and in fairness, one thing, and I've struggled with this myself, a lot of Iowa fans believe that Iowa recruits are purposely rated less or lower than schools like Ohio State or schools like Michigan or a school like Alabama or a school like Clemson or something like that. And my answer to that would be, now that I've done this for a few years now, and I have been able to see year in, year out on a day-to-day basis how they go about rating Iowa players versus other teams' recruits, I do think that there is what's called what I like to call a blue blood bump. Okay. I do think that that's a real thing. But I think that that is only reserved for a handful of schools. And the schools that that is reserved for are schools that are really, really good for the current year and have been good for the last 4 to 5 years. Okay. So some schools that I would put in that category would be a Michigan, would be an Alabama, would be an Ohio State. It was Clemson, maybe not so much now. And yes, there might be bumps for popularity, like Colorado might receive bumps for some of their recruits because of the popularity that Deion Sanders has and things like that. So I do think that that exists. Okay. How much of a bump? It's hard to say. Now, that being what it is, does that mean that Iowa players, therefore, are not rated properly? No, I don't think so. Okay. And so there was a specific player that, and it's not that I don't think so. I know it's not the case because, quite frankly, Iowa has recruited pretty consistently across the board, and in the last couple of years they've been top 40, and that is about accurate for Iowa. Iowa lands the last 4 to 5 years the primary, and Iowa actually has been better in recruiting the last 4 to 5 years than they have in years past in other parts of Kirk Ferentz's tenure. How I like to judge a recruit is what types of offers do they have? Do they have regional offers only, or regional group of power 4 offers? Or are they somebody who has MAC offers with a few group of 5 or excuse me, power 4 offers? Are they a school that has largely power 4 offers with a handful of blue blood offers? That is how I view it. And Iowa, for the most part, most of the commits that they have are guys that have regional group, or excuse me, power 4 offers, like a Illinois, an Iowa State, a Wisconsin, a a Missouri, and some of them might have one or two, like, some guys might have, like, mostly if they live in the state of Illinois. Okay, this is how I gauge it. If this is a high 3-star, low 4-star prospect, what I expect is him to have mostly regional offers with maybe one or two cross-conference offers from the SEC or the Big 12, but maybe not big ones, not like a Texas or a Oklahoma. Okay. But maybe they might have like a Missouri offer from the SEC, or like a Vanderbilt offer, or like, a Mississippi State or a Kentucky. Okay. From the Big 12, they might have, Baylor or Iowa State or Texas Tech or, Kansas State. That's a big one. And so specifically, and Iowa has most of their recruits the last 4 to 5 years, they've done a consistent job of landing guys in that area. Guys that have a handful of power 4 offers with maybe a few cross power 4 conference offers, and then probably a few MAC or group of 5 offers. So specifically, AJ Epinesa, I saw a post, and I'm not going to name drop. I don't want to, shame anybody or anything like that. But I saw a post intimating that AJ Epinesa is not being properly rated. Sorry, guys, I had to pick up this little thing I'm holding. Oh my gosh, I dropped it again. He is not being properly rated by On3 because he is favored to go to Iowa. Let me tell you how ludicrous that is, guys. AJ Epinesa continued being a 5-star prospect well after committing to Iowa. Do you guys realize that? Do you guys realize that Xavier Wampa continued to be a 5-star prospect well after committing to Iowa? Do you guys realize that Caden Proctor actually rose several spots on a few recruiting services after committing to Iowa? Now, of course, he ended up committing to Alabama, but you guys get my point. So if it's true that the recruiting services drop players that Iowa is in on, then why didn't those guys see significant drops? Why did AJ Epenesa's own brother, his own bra, Mahala, not get a ranking decrease? Furthermore, let me tell you guys something about On3, and this is why I use On3 the most. On3, the last 2 to 3 years, has been the highest on Iowa players across the board. Let's pull it up, okay? And this is going to easily make my point. No problem. Okay? Let's check this out. All right. So here, we got to go to 2015 or 2025. Okay, number one, Terrence Smith is a guy that Iowa is in on, and he has consistently been considered a 4-star guy. Okay. And he doesn't even have a lot of offers. Really, his only 2 good offers are Iowa and Minnesota. So, how do you explain to me that if his only offers are really only Iowa and Minnesota, that he is a 4-star guy? Okay. If being an Iowa recruit diminishes your recruiting rankings, then surely this kid would be a mid-level 3-star based off of the offers that he has. Thomas Meyer, 4-star. But let's just look at the commits, shall we? And then we're going to look at AJ Epenesa, okay? So Lucas Allgaier, since being committed to Iowa, has seen a rankings bump from like a 88 to a 91. He's now a top 200 prospect, according to On3, higher than all of the other recruiting sites, as I told you would be the case. Once all of these recruiting websites view him as an offensive tackle, he will be considered a 4-star prospect across the board. Another one, linebacker Burke Goucher was an 88, and he has been committed to Iowa for several months. Actually, he was at 89. Excuse me. Now he has a grade of a 91. He is now a firmly 4-star prospect, top 200 player nationally. Carson Cooney has been considered a 4-star prospect for months now. He has also been committed to Iowa for months. He's also a top 200 player. This guy is damn near a top 100 player, which is actually a pretty damn big deal. Okay. And so it seems to me that if this was the case, that this kid would have dropped significantly, that On3 would not be taking a flyer on him as a dang near top 100 prospect. This is not basketball, guys. In football, there's over 1,000 prospects that are rated. Joey Van Vessinga is at 89. Okay. And he has been committed to Iowa for the longest. He has seen his ratings bump. Cameron Herron, 88. Since being committed to Iowa, he actually finally got rated by On3 and is an 88. CJ Bell, recently committed to Iowa. He was rated as an 86 or an 87. He is now an 88. Eli Johnson was an 87. You know how you guys can verify this? By checking my previous videos in which I review Iowa's commits, and you will see that I'm correct, that all of these guys have seen their rating bump. Eli Johnson is now an 88 by On3. Okay. Right here. Now, these two guys did not receive ratings bumps. Drew McPherson, I think because he's a relatively new prospect. Jimmy Sullivan, quarterback. So it's just not true. And lastly, let's look at Iosi Epenesa. On3, and you guys can see this from my previous video, and I even have acknowledged it in my previous video. Iosi Epenesa, or Iosi Epenesa, I always forget, has consistently been considered the lowest by On3. He has consistently been rated the lowest as compared to the other recruiting services. Okay. Which is mostly, for the most part, that's normal. You don't, honestly, I don't think that recruiting services should be the same across the board for prospects. Are some of them a can't miss guy? Of course. But when you get to this level, there is variability there, and part of the ratings and rankings is projection. This is an art, okay? It's not a perfect science. So there should be variability. You shouldn't, what's the point of having all of these rating services, okay, if they're all going to be the exact same? Also, if this is true that Iowa recruits receive ratings dips, then why are all the other recruiting services high on Iosi Epenesa? Surely they would be at the same point as Iosi Epenesa. By the way, guys, him having a rating of a 92 is not bad at all. Okay, that's still really high. I'm going to see if I can find, because a lot of the recruiting websites have like an ebbs and flows type thing. So maybe if I just click his outright. Yeah, I'm not sure On3 has like a previous rating thing. Yeah, I don't think it does. Because this rating, I think, is their composite rating. Iowa commit. He's a little bit higher. Yeah, that's his composite rating. So I don't know if he has dropped. In fact, no, I don't think he has. I think if anything, he has raised. I'll have to go back and look at previous videos that I've done. And I'll put it in the comment section. But suffice it to say, guys, I really don't think Iowa players receive a dip or anything like that. I don't think that that's a real thing. I think Iowa players get properly evaluated. And if anything, I think that they've actually been being rated higher the last couple of years. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. DBAP, don't be a pussy willow. Facts are feelings because your feelings just don't matter. Love you guys. See you guys next time. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.